Everybody. Good afternoon. It's 11, so both could be, you know, legitimate. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me. My mic seems to be doing something weird. I don't know what. Uh, so I hope you'll bear with me as I try and figure it out. I don't know if I have other programs that are trying to use it. I hope I don't. Um, Volume levels seem to be going up like normal. Hopefully they'll stay like that. My apologies. I know that starting a video or a live stream like that is kind of annoying, so I do apologize for that. If you'll give me just a second to get things lined up. Um, so let's get in here. Taking 24 hours off is, you know, generally weird. Yesterday, I felt like my body went to war, um, to save you the gory details, or, kind of the not so PG details. I just had some issues, had to, deal with them. I ended up feeling pretty energized last night. So I probably could have done a live stream last night, but I don't know. I ended up downloading a book on Audible, uh, that I'm going to be talking about soon. The individual who wrote the book, I'm going to try and get them for either an interview here for the rant or for the podcast. Maybe more so for the podcast. So definitely be looking for that. I'll give you more information as it develops, if I'm able to, accomplish that. Um, Definitely go over to the podcast, um, hit the follow or subscribe, depending on where you listen to your podcasts. We're on all audio platforms. We're on uh, YouTube. We're on Rumble. Not so much on Rumble yet, but I'm working on it. But that's Chaos and Conversation. I'll put links in the description after the stream is over. But yeah, we're getting back in the swing of things. I'm starting to feel a little bit more like myself. So, yeah, yesterday was definitely necessary that I not do a morning stream because I felt like death. But so yeah. Anyway, as you can tell by the title of the stream, I was watching. I don't know if I watching something on YouTube. No, you know what it was? I actually saw something come up in my news feed from uh like a the Google thing when you get like different stories that Google suggests to you. I was looking on my phone and saw this, so I decided to look it up. And I don't know, it might be considered. I ended up on the last episode with your song that never. Are you saying that you clicked on the last episode instead of the live stream? Because that's kind of funny. Good lord. Gotta pay attention to what you're clicking on. um, but yeah, as you guys can tell by the title, there was a story that I came across yesterday, and it might be, at least coming from me, an unpopular opinion because I don't have kids, and most people know my opinion of kids, um, at least in the context of having kids, like having my own kids. Never going to happen. Just keep click out. Why did you have to? No, now Nemo is gonna be stuck in my head. Great. And of all characters from Nemo, Dory, really? Come on now. Just keep clicking. Just wow. Yeah. Keep trying to throw me off while I'm trying to make the intro. Yeah, I'll get you, King Bob. But yeah, like I said, and I'll say it again because people in the chat are trying to, distract me, which it's fine. They're all, that's what it's meant to do. Um, it may be an unpopular opinion considering I don't have kids, but this particular story definitely caught my eye, um, because I think all of us, to some degree, have an opinion about kids being on social media. Um, I personally don't think that you should be allowed to be on social media until you're at least 18, 17 if I'm being generous. Um, King Julian from Madagascar went through my mind. I haven't seen Madagascar, but I do know who King Julian is. Um, Quit distracting me, damn it. But yeah, I think in general people have certain opinions about kids being online, especially in today's world. Um, and then, like I said, me not having kids, it may not be a popular opinion for me to, have my thoughts on that because it doesn't, apply to me. But I found this story and it absolutely caught my eye. And then I actually found a second story that's completely unrelated, but we'll get into this one first. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Let's see. There we go. Hopefully, there's no weird ass videos that are going to start playing. So, all right. Utah governor signs law requiring parents' consent for minors to use social media. Uh, and forgive the noises if you hear them in the background. I actually have my windows open right now because it's 74 degrees at the end of March and I'm not used to having it, this warm, so I'm taking advantage of it. So if you hear random noises, I do apologize. It's too nice to have the apartment, closed up, so to speak. Um, yeah, it's odd for children to have their own social media. I guess my question is, how are they going to get around the ones that just use different because, and that's what I think it talks about it in this article, but basically what they're going to require is, and I don't necessarily agree with this because it can be used maliciously, but what they're going to require is, facial recognition in the way of providing like a legal ID of some sort for you to prove that you are old enough to have social media. And otherwise, if you are a minor that wants to be on social media, your parent has to approve, and then either the minor or the parent has to provide justification for their uh, to allow their minor child on social media, which, in my opinion, there is no justification. Um, just because they need to be out, outside playing around, actually having a life. Because I think as adults, we all can agree that social media is far too controlling. Um, Utah Governor Spencer Cox signed two pieces of sweeping legislation or sweeping social media regulation. Wow, let me try that again. Utah Governor Spencer Cox signed two pieces of sweeping social media regulation into law Thursday that require social media companies to get parental consent for minors using their services, making Utah the first state to impose such measures in the U.S. Versions of the regulations are being considered in four other states in several and in several federal proposals. Why are words so hard for me today in Congress? It's a non-enforceable law. I, I don't know. I think the more, even though a lot of people will argue with me on this, the more we move towards a surveillance state, it it very much can be implemented very easily because they already spy on us. I mean, look at the reason that they're trying to ban TikTok right now. They're trying to ban TikTok because they don't have control over it. The US is trying to ban TikTok not because of, you know, information being sent to China. They don't have control over the information because if you remember last year, or not last year, a couple of years ago when Trump tried to get the company to sell, they had this company called Oracle that they wanted to be the American arm of TikTok. And it just came out yesterday that the reason that they wanted Oracle to become the American arm of TikTok was because pretty much all social media companies already store their data with Oracle. So Oracle already has all of our information from the other social media platforms we use. And the reason that they want to ban TikTok is because TikTok is actually refusing to share user information. So they're trying to make up the lie that it's feeding information to the Chinese government. Um, but yeah, let's try and get through this article. The new Utah law. That's a hard thing to say. This is a wow. This is already a mess of a stream. HB 311 and SB 152 require that social media companies verify the age of any Utah resident who makes a social media profile and get parental consent for any minor who wishes to make a profile. Uh, they also they also force social media companies to allow parents to access posts and messages from their child's account. Uh, the laws also prohibit social media companies from displaying ads to minors, which I like because if you think back to when we were growing up, there were too many things on TV that were geared toward children, and they knew how to market to children, which is disgusting. And having a marketing background like I do, yeah, I found out the ways that they do it, and it's very shady. Um, let's see, showing minors accounts in search results, collecting information about minors, targeting or suggesting content to minors, or knowingly integrating addictive technologies into social media apps used by minors. They also impose a curfew on the use of social media for minors, locking them out of their social media accounts between 10:30 p.m. and 6:30 a.m. That's an interesting concept. I mean, honestly, it should be earlier because I mean, what minor, if the parent is actually a good parent, what minor is awake at 10:30? I mean, I understand on weekends, but during the week, if it's a school week and they're not in summer, what minor is awake at 10:30? Based on the location of a user's device, unless adjusted with the consent of a parent. Um, Utah's law comes amid ongoing debates on the impact of social media on young people's mental health, which I completely agree. We see that on TikTok all the time, how the mental health of, you know, the minors that we see online is being affected. A link that is widely theorized but remains the subject of academic study. Mental health issues among young people have been labeled a crisis. That's a good thing because at least they're paying attention to it now. With particular concerns about the mental health of young women. Yeah, that's been a thing for quite a while uh, because of all of the garbage that Instagram tries to make young girls believe about their appearance. Social media companies have until March 1st, 2024 to comply with the laws, at which point they become punishable with potential civil and criminal penalties. In the interview with NBC News, sponsors of the legislation said that they were motivated by mental health concerns posed by social media use among young people, and that they hope Utah's new laws serve as an inspiration for other states or for Congress. I don't necessarily think that it should be a Congress thing. I think it should be a state to state thing. Um, let each state individually decide if they want to make those laws. I think giving the federal government too much power is just crap because they already have too much. I don't think we've ever seen a time in American history where mental health has been so problematic. Utah Senator Michael McNell. I hope we said Utah Senator Michael McNell. I hope we see action across the nation. Uh, or McKell, not McNell. McKell said the Utah bills were homebrewed legislation developed in a working group over the last year. State Rep Jordan Tauscher. That's what I'm going with. Tauscher, who co-sponsored one of the Utah bills, said the group heard from representatives and lobbyists from major social media companies like Google and TikTok. As you can imagine, the social media companies hired almost all of their major lobbyists in Utah to try to affect the bill. They were not very successful in deterring us from our objectives, um, which I agree with. Lobbyists are a pain in the ass on any level, state or federal. Um, Lobbyists, I don't know. I don't think that lobbyists are effective. Well, I mean, they're effective. I don't think that they should be have the power that they do. Um, in a statement, Meta spokesperson said, We want teens to be safe online. We've developed more than 30 tools to support teens and families, including tools that let parents and teens work together to limit the amount of time teens spend on Instagram, and age verification technology that helps teens have age appropriate experiences. That's bullshit. I know that's not right. Uh, just based on what my cousins who are minors see on their feeds. We automatically set teens' accounts to private when they join Instagram, uh, and we send notifications encouraging them to take regular breaks. I don't know about that. I've never heard of anything like that. We'll continue to work closely with experts, policymakers, and parents on these important issues. Critics of the law say that they are a form of government overreach, which to a certain extent I can understand, but I think, and this is not a blanket statement of all parents, but I think the amount of minors that we see on social media, I think it's safe to say that there are enough parents out there that are not monitoring what their kids are doing, that, kids are at risk being on social media, and the parents need to unfortunately take some accountability and actually start being a parent again. Um, Overreach that will have effects outside of the borders of the state. There's no way for a platform to know who is or isn't a full time Utah resident, said Ari Khan, Free Speech Counsel for the tech policy think tank Tech Freedom. Khan said it's unfeasible to think that social media companies could parse out Utah residents from visitors to the state or nearby users connecting to internet via cell phone data networks. I think they're getting a little bit too into the weeds, trying to overthink that. Because either that or they just worded it really weird, because I don't know what they're getting at there. Um, the only way the platforms can ensure full compliance will be by actually age verifying everyone, which is what they're looking at doing. Um, and that's the problem with the state level bills like this, is that they basically regulate the internet for everyone. Khan added that age verification poses a major risk for security and speech online. Uh, Age verifying everyone means you no longer have the ability to be anonymous online on social media. I agree with that to a certain extent, but I think whether you're anonymous or out front with who you are online, I think social media and the internet in and of itself gives people bigger balls than they really have, to act in such a way that is unbecoming of a normal functioning human being. Think about all the ways social media is used to criticize powerful people, elected officials, tyrannical governments, or what have you, without fear of retribution. That's a good thing too. There are implications that may lead to not being able to criticize your government. Um, Khan also noted that not every child lives in a nurturing household that allows parents to access kids' social media. History could lead to potential abuse. Uh, I get where they're going with that, but I think that they're, I don't know. That's weird. The policies, Khan said, could even create equity issues by potentially locking out kids whose parents aren't really available to provide consent. And this is what I was talking about. This makes, this should make it so parents take a more active role in their child's life. Because I think we've seen too much over the last 20, 25 years that parents in general are unfortunately disconnecting from taking an active role in their kids' lives. Uh, Tauscher said the considerations don't outweigh his priority of child mental health. Wow, this is going to be a rough day. Um, when we see hockey stick increases in mental health, I don't know what that means. I'll have to look up that analogy. There's a role of government. There is a role of government to step in and say, "Hey, this or is there something that we need to do to protect the health of our citizens uh, and the health, or especially the health of minors?" So far, Utah is the only state to have passed such regulations, which potentially open the door for social media companies to shut out users from the state if the companies aren't willing to comply with the rules. Outside of Utah, legislation that includes social media parental consent for some minors being considered in Ohio, Minnesota, Connecticut, and Arkansas. Currently, there's no centralized organization providing draft language to the states, so each state is considering slightly different rules with social media companies, which social media companies would need to comply. Several of the states, for instance, would only require parental consent for children under the age of 16. Yeah, I would go so far as to say 17, maybe. McKell said those potential differences could actually be a good thing. That'll force Congress to the table. There are currently two pieces of legislation in Congress that would restrict minor access to social media. If signed into law, they would create minimum ages for social media use without the option of parental consent. That last part's a bit dicey because Facebook says that uh, it already creates. Let me get rid of that. Facebook said that it already has a minimum age of uh, 13. There are kids of all ages on there. One of my cousins who lives in Tennessee, several years ago, after I met her and her little brother for the first time, um, I had tried to look them up on Facebook, and um, I couldn't find them. Their dad, who is my cousin, or who's my cousin, they're his kids. Um, he said they were on, but it was on something called the Facebook Kids at the time. I don't know if that thing still exists, but you couldn't find their profiles because they were of a certain age. Um, if that still exists, then great, but I don't think it does. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like I said, it's a dicey situation for a number of reasons, but I do think that kids under the age of 17 don't need to be on social media. Period. Let's see what you guys are saying. I'm gonna figure out where I left off. There's no. As far as TikTok and the information to the Chinese government, um, I don't know. It may be true, but I don't think it's at the volume that or in the way that is being told to us. I don't think that it's necessarily the way that it's being expressed to us. Uh, Less trips over your words. It's the only way I can trip. Let me trip, damn it. Uh, Although I agree with you on what you said about the U.S. wanting that info. Yeah, um, that's really the only reason that the U.S. government is going after TikTok is it's less about the Chinese government because if the Chinese government was trying to use our information to harm us, there are so many apps that we use and so many services that we use that tie directly back to the Chinese government that they have the ability to data farm our information from other apps. So it's not TikTok is not the issue. The issue is the US government doesn't have control over the information that TikTok has, and they want to have more control over it, especially in an election year coming up. Um, that's really what the law says is a replacement. It's a replacement to good parenting. Well, I agree that I mean that's what it looks like on the surface as a replacement, but I'm hoping that it lights the fire. And like I said, me being not being a parent, I understand that my opinions are very controversial in this regard, but I saw enough of my friends when I was growing up how they handled their younger years and their teenage years when their parents didn't give a shit about them. And I saw the kind of lives that they lived not having any parental involvement. That's the only thing I mean when I say that parents need to actually be forced to take an active role in their kids' lives. And back then we didn't even have social media. But now with kids having access to the world before they even know what the world is around them, I don't think that that's a safe thing. So parents absolutely need to take a more active role. Um, a lot of parents uninvolved, gonna be in for a world of hurt. Only problem I have is kids have nothing already. Yeah, um, I understand. Kids use social media. Kids that have a broken home tend to use social media as a way to reach out to the rest of the world and find some sort of stability, which is the problem because what they find is generally going to be harmful to them for the most part. I would say the breaks. I would say the breaks things is something along the lines of what TikTok does with their stop scrolling. Oh, okay, yeah, the ones. And you know what? It's funny that you bring that up, Amanda. Um, I haven't seen any of those videos in months. Like usually, I'm because I'm on TikTok constantly still, and I haven't seen those videos in months. The ones that tell you to get off and go to sleep. Get off TikTok. I want to make sure that's clear. Get off TikTok and go to sleep. There's a lot of parents out here on drugs. Parenting will never happen for those kids. Agreed. Um, like a check mark, start low and go higher. I don't necessarily know what that means. Some parents also just have to work a lot more and provide, so being present isn't an option. Um, it's either work to provide or stay home and live off the government. I think that 20, 25 years ago, I would have said yes, I would have agreed to that. But there are so many opportunities for parents to work at home now. And I know several parents that do, um, that have the ability to be more active in their kids' lives. So I think it's just a matter of trying to find something where you can maybe work from home if you can't find daycare or other adults to be responsible for your kids, um, if they're not of school age. Um, Also, even though this has nothing to do with this stream, the school system needs to be reformed. We won't go into that though. Uh, so let's see. Almost like they want it that way. Yeah, I mean that's why they federalized the education system, um, because way back when, before any of us were around, you were able to choose whether you wanted to more easily choose where you wanted to send your kids to school, whether you wanted them in public school or if you wanted to homeschool them. Now it's almost parents get in trouble if their kids aren't enrolled in the federal education system. Um, and that's only been around, that stipulation has only been around, I think, for less than 60 years, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Nothing is ever clean cut. Yeah. Uh, Especially how inflation. My kids eating out of the house or out of house and home, and groceries are expensive. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm glad I don't have kids too, especially right now. Um, every policy they put forth, every decision they make destroys the family and makes you more dependent on the government. Yes. Um, I agree with that, and but like I said, and I'm probably going to sound like a broken record each time I say this. If parents were more, and I hate to say incentivized because you shouldn't have to be incentivized to take an active role in your kids' lives, but if parents actually were more incentivized to take an active role in their kids' lives, they would be able to push the government out of their homes. Uh, oh, okay. I get the check mark thing. I wouldn't have equated a check mark to a hockey stick, um, because to me they look different. That's like equating, I mean, they used to call the Nike swoosh a check mark, which I always thought was stupid because it looks significantly different. Look up the cost of daycares all around. No, I understand that. I absolutely understand that daycare is an absolute nightmare. Um, because I have friends who have kids back up in New York, and especially up in New York, they say that daycare costs are a fucking nightmare. Um, so yeah, that's another thing. All the more reason I don't want to be a parent, and that's gonna make me sound like a broken record too, because I'm just gonna probably keep repeating that. I don't know. Like I said, it's a muddy issue right now as far as the social media goes, but until kids have the ability to have, what's known as wherewithal and awareness of their environment, I don't think that they should have social media. Bottom line. Um, but I do understand the kids that come from the broken homes. They tend to want to find, you know, an alternative group of people that they can call their own. But I think that social media and the internet in general lends itself to people being just severely manipulated. Um, and I think that we see too much of we see too many scenarios where kids are getting manipulated um, by people with bad intentions, um, all the time from social media. So all the more reason I ain't starting over. What do you mean having more kids? Is that what you're talking about? over here. I'm just checking on something on another screen at the moment. Uh, care about that. Don't care about that. Get rid of that. Things that are making my computer run slow right now, or right at the moment. And I will look at those in a second. Um, yeah, I mean, for especially for financial reasons, right now, I would never want to raise a kid in the environment and the economy that we have right now. Um, Socially, I would never want to raise a child in the social environment that we have right now because it's just absolute garbage. Um, yeah, there's just too much. It's not like the late 80s, early 90s when it was, at least from a social aspect. I don't know about financial, but from a social aspect, it seems like it was much easier to raise kids back in the 90s, um, for, a plethora of reasons. But yeah, I would not want to bring kids into this world in current times for a lot of reasons. So I don't know. Should we go into the second story that I found? Anybody interested in a second story? Even though Amanda, I think you're the only one in here. I don't know if Bob's still in here because it says only one person's in here. Uh, are we going into another story? Okay, I'm down for what. You s- did you just really go Randy Jackson on me and call me dog? Good God, you're such a white girl. All right, let's get into the other story because I shall not abandon my post. All right, let's go into the second story. This one, actually, I just heard about this story from watching a video before I started stream, and it just kind of interested me a little. I have no idea who this girl is beyond, what this article tells me. Um, so, I have no background on her. Um, so we'll just kind of go blind into this. Says Taylor Mathis got fired from her job as a host and analyst at Superbook because she went into her sister's second grade classroom in Illinois and talked to them about March Madness as a math exercise. To be clear, Mathis, a University of Iowa journalism graduate who's worked her way up the ranks after getting her start at Southwestern Nebraska ABC affiliate, did not teach these second graders how to place a parlay or a bet, I guess, how to open a sportsbook account, or how to game the bonus system. She went into her sister's second grade class, talked to them, and talked about the numbers next to the teams' names. I was back in Illinois for my sister's baby shower. She asked me to come in to her classroom and help her out. Our original plan was to show the class how a scorecard works in baseball, as baseball is what I concentrate on professionally. Uh, then said, why don't then I said, why don't we do a bracket? It's March Madness and can be relevant to them because it's going on now. She said they'd love it, especially a group of basketball crazy boys in her class. Uh, Ryan's abusing his. How am I abusing? Listen here. I will have none of that. Let's see. Damn it, Bob, you threw me off. Now I'm gonna figure out where I was. Okay, here we go. But wait, it gets not worse. I went in last Thursday. We did the bracket for an hour and a half. Mathis recalled we went around in a circle, and each kid had to say their name and an interesting fact. When it came to me and they asked me what my interesting fact was, I told them I was a sports reporter. I didn't say one word about gambling. I told them I work with athletes and teams. They're in second grade. They thought that was cool. Then we picked teams. Mathis continued. The extent of which was explaining what a one or a number one seed and a 16 seed means. Number 16 seed and a 5 seed and a 12 seed, and then we literally went through and picked teams and got to the championship. They picked Alabama, and then I told them I'd buy them a pizza after I'd buy them a pizza party. Uh, it could have ended there, but Mathis made the fateful decision to post the picture of herself with the class and the bracket, where angry commenters had uh angry com- the way that they write this stupid story. Everyone on social media thought it was cool. Tons of positive responses, nothing negative. In fact, Mathis was doing the same thing teachers all over America do, namely use March Madness as a fun way to teach math, which I don't remember specifically if my teachers did it, but I do remember learning about math because using brackets. I don't know if sports was involved, but uh, here's where the problem comes in, and I want you guys to tell me what you think. Um, but then Mathis got an email from her boss at Superbook on Saturday morning. She was told Superbook got an email from a gambling reform group. Uh, the group accused Mathis and by extension Superbook of child grooming. Yes, child grooming. Mathis was told to delete the tweet and issue an apology, which she immediately did through tears. Says in regard to the tweet about teaching kids how to do a bracket, I taught them about filling out a bracket. There was no gambling involved, just trying to do something with kids, sports and math. It's being viewed as grooming. I'm sorry if doing that was wrong. It wasn't my intent. Uh, I was sobbing, Mathis said. I couldn't believe what I was getting accused of grooming. It's fun with math with second graders. Mathis thought this was over. It wasn't over. Later Saturday, she got an email from Superbook's compliance department. It said I was being let go and I have to delete everything about my relationship with Superbook, and I can't talk to any employees or interact with anyone at Superbook until further notice. Uh, and then Superbook put out a tweet. Due to recent events, Superbook Sports finds it necessary to reaffirm its commitment in responsible gambling and protecting youth. By the way, not only is Mathis' sister a teacher, but Mathis's mom has been teaching kindergarten for 33 years. I would never in a million years go into a classroom and teach kids about gambling. It's ridiculous. What's also ridiculous is the fact she got fired doing this. Uh, and it begs the question, would she have gotten fired for this last year before the series of New York Times articles that have sent legislators and regulators into a mouth foaming frenzy in an effort to one up themselves in the name of capital R, capital G, responsible gaming or gambling? My gut tells me no, but what do I know? Uh, all I know is Mathis, who interestingly enough had already given notice to Superbook, and her last day was supposed to be this Friday. Uh, she got a gig at Sports Grid, did absolutely nothing wrong, and certainly seems to be a casualty of the walking on eggshells moment in the industry is finding itself in. Sports betting is the current boogeyman, with legislators seeking to limit or outright ban the industry from promoting itself. Never mind the more insidious lottery that lines the pockets of the states. Yeah, that's what I never understood about state lotteries. Sports books and all attached businesses are finding themselves in an unwelcome limelight, and at least based on this case, may be a little hair trigger when it comes to self-policing. Again, this is a story about someone who talked to kids about basketball tournament, about talked about a basketball tournament, got fired for doing so. My sister didn't get in trouble, obviously. My mom's school has a huge bracket up in the hallway. The fourth grade teachers in my sister's school compete with each other in brackets. It's everywhere. Uh, Athos has been sacrificed at the altar of responsible gambling. Hold on. Oh, clearly I'm talking too much. Um, and hopefully that didn't make too much noise in your speakers or in your ears. Um, Mathis has been sacrificed at the altar of responsible gambling. There's no other way to say it. Email to representatives from Superbook went unreturned. I'm very thankful to everyone online was behind me, and many people in the industry reached out uh, to have my back. Uh, she can count on me over here, is what the author of the article said. Now, my understanding um, from another article regarding this particular story is um, Sportsbook and the Gamblers Anonymous Reform Group or whatever they want to call themselves. My understanding is they actually tried to slander her name after this. Um, my I don't know. It feels like and actually one of the other articles said that the guy who initially tweeted at or sent the concern about what she was doing, he tweeted and said, I just wanted it to be a learning experience. I didn't want her to get fired. Um, that's unfortunately the repercussions of your actions when you're fucking stupid and you don't think. You mess with people's lives just because you're fucking butthurt. Um, I hate to say this about the Gamblers Reform Group, but I feel like um, it was projecting. You know, uh, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's not the right way to put it. I feel like whoever the guy was that reported her, because there were tweets that showed that he actually um, tweeted at a government official to have something done. So he obviously had more intention than he wants us to believe. But I feel like it was projecting in the sense that he's still not over his gambling. So this was a trigger for him. And I feel like she was just the target of his trigger. Um, so let's see, get to the chat here. I had a teacher do the March Madness brackets, but never understood them. So I just wrote down teams. In my history class, we played the stock market with fake money. And actually, that's a good point, Bob, because there was um, a business and finance class that I took in high school that where we were learning about the stock market and we were fake trading stocks and this, that, and the other. It was actually pretty cool. I don't know if the program or website still exists where we were doing it, but I found it fascinating to learn more about the stock market because um, it actually gave me something to talk to my grandfather about. Although, there are many things I can talk to him about, but one of the things that he's very much interested in is the stock market. And having that knowledge from that class, it gave me something else to talk to him about, which I thought was really cool. Um, Story just proves how stupid we've become. Yeah, pretty much. Shut up, Amanda. I don't talk too much. Just, yeah, shut up. Um, it went a bit too far. There's absolutely much worse things to be pressed about. Uh, you done fucked up, AA Ron. I hate Key and Peele, but I think that's actually a funny clip. Um, yeah, he had ill intentions. Absolutely. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Um, I think my issue with the whole thing, beyond it being overreaching and, you know, actually trying to get somebody in trouble while saying you're not, I think my main issue is the fact that they are trying to characterize it as grooming. And I'm sure we all know what grooming is. This is not grooming by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. Um, what's the male version of a Karen again? Kevin, I think, is what I've heard. Um, which I'm not saying anything while we're on live stream, but I have a Kyle. Well, yeah, Kyle, Kevin, um, but um, but yeah, overall, I mean, th- the actions of this person that went after her don't necessarily surprise me. However, the uh, characterization of grooming is, I think, what needs to be addressed. Um, because that to me is the most disgusting thing because I think that's what elevated it to the status of making it to the news. Is the fact that they characterized it as grooming. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's some wild shit, but yeah, I've been talking too much. But if you guys have anything, whether obviously some of you are going to see this after the fact, but let me know in the comments down below what you think. And I will hopefully be back tomorrow and not have any health issues like I did yesterday. But thank you for being here, and I will see you tomorrow morning.